All right, hey, it's September 16th, bringing you your weekly Lake of the Ozarks fishing report. We're well into, I would say, early fall transition and, fishing patterns. Real quick, the lake level is 658.5, I believe it is. So it's about a foot and a half or so below summer pool. It's come down a little bit this last week or so. They're really not running a lot of current, throughout the day, but to amount to anything. But they have been kind of bringing it down a little bit. I've noticed, but they're not really running any more than 1,500 cubic foot, per second, through the dam. So it's really not a whole lot. Water temp is dropping a little bit. We're down today. We had about 76, 77 degrees. So it's down about 4 degrees or so from where it was, a week and a half or so ago. The fish are biting. They're biting good. A lot of fish moving, a lot of activity going on. We had a couple pretty good tournaments last weekend. So it kind of gives you an idea of what's going on. If you're out fishing, if you're just out fun fishing, and you're wondering how you're doing, or if you're getting ready for a tournament coming up here, we've got several this weekend, and you kind of want to know, kind of gauge if what you're doing is the right thing. I always just look at tournament results for myself to see whatever I'm catching is that up to par with what it's going to take. Last weekend it did take. There was a BFL out of Drake Harbor, which is all the way up by Truman Dam. It did take, Andrew Dicknight won it with 18 something. So, pretty solid bag. And then, Adam Boley had 17 something. Bob had 17 something. So it was, around 17. Anything over 17 right now is a really solid bag. I would say 14 pounds is solid, is a solid bag. You start getting 16, 17, that's really good. You get 18, 19, you're real good. So a lot of keepers being caught, which, five keepers, 12 and a half pounds is about, pretty common, I guess is what I want to say. They're in fall transition. So what's that mean? Here at the Ozark, that means you can catch some fish in 20 foot of water in brush piles, or you can catch fish in 6 inches of water flipping a jig or on Topwater. They're all over the place. If you look at your electronics, you'll notice big balls of shad hanging down 15, 16 foot of water, and then you get back in some of these creeks and big cove, they're working the surface back in 2 foot of water. So the shad are all over the place, and the bass are all over too. But the only thing I will say is, without any shad presence, whether you're fishing main lake, down lake, say from the toll bridge to the dam, or up in the gravel a little bit, you really need some shad around to have the bass there present and to get them active. You get up in the rivers, rugby way up the Gravois, Nangwas, way up the Osage, the Glaze. Start looking for a shad to be working in the back of these creeks. I guess the main thing with the shad is kind of pay attention to the size of them, and kind of see. I generally in the fall like to find the biggest shad I can. Obviously, the bigger fish are going to be back in there feeding on them. Here lately, I've seen a lot of them 2 inchers and a lot of bass in there feeding on them. So I haven't really seen the presence of the big gizzard yet. They're still to come by the end of this month, early October. You'll start seeing a lot more of them show up. And once those show up, you really want to kind of follow them around. Right now, if you're fishing main lake, brush piles seem to be a real key. Probably, 8 to 15 foot of water. throw some jigs in there, throw some worms in there. Like say this Zoom Old Monster June bug color, been real good. Just Texas rigging it, or rigging on a shaky head, maybe a little bigger shaky head. For whatever reason, in the fall, baits with purple on it, I tend to just try to have something with purple on it. I don't know, the Shad's got a little purple flash to it, a little color, but it just, for me, the purple, a bait with some purple on it, it just seems to really produce. This is that Reaction Innovations little swim bait they got. It's kind of a pearl with a little purple on it. Real good bait if you're going to throw a swim bait around. They'll hit a swim bait pretty good in the fall. You can just throw it up to the bank, reel it off to the bank, swimming alongside docks. If you see a lot of shad busting in the backs, just throw a swim bait back in there. Another bait really produces well, and it's good for in the fall. It's a chatter bait, and you see I got that Reaction Innovations little swim bait on the back of it, little purple tint, little white color. That little chatterbait catches a lot of fish in the fall. Just kind of fan casting along some of these flats in the backs works real good. It's an easy bait to throw. You just cover water with it. Round points alongside docks. Just pretty anywhere you see shad moving, this will get a reaction bite. So the chatterbait's real good bait. In the fall, it's been working. Topwater is probably one of my favorite in the fall to throw. And it's kind of a combination, obviously just still your spook, just a one knock spook, just a bone color, keep it pretty simple. Not too crazy on that. You see this one's got I call it my old one eye spook. One's knocked out. It's got sides wore through from the hooks rubbing on it. It's all about the reaction and the action of your bait and where you're throwing it. Not so much the color, I don't believe, but bone's always been reliable. Just throw it on like 12-pound monofilament. Will give it the best action along the rod. This is 7'3", spooled up. This loose reel spooled up with 12-pound test. And it's that combination, you're gonna be able to get a real good long throw. That 12-pound test monofilament, always on the top water, is gonna let that bait work real free, work naturally. You're out in the open water, you don't need a heavy line. It's more important to have a lighter line so that bait gets a lot of action and it doesn't hamper that bait trying to work and give it the right action. The spook, just throw it up around some big rocks on points, on banks. Look for that moss. The lakes kind of come down this week, so there's a lot of exposed moss, and that's real key to bring them shad in to feed on that moss. So anywhere you see a lot of moss, like the boat ramps, the residential boat ramps, have moss on them. The rocks around the riprap grow a lot of moss, and the shad go in there and eat on that, the bluegill, and of course the bass are right there eating on them. So throw your spook up there right up by them, by the rocks, work it away, work it for a while. If that doesn't give you anything, I'll go to maybe a whopper plopper. I like the smaller one. I believe it's the 110, either black or bone. The only thing on the whopper plopper, I will say, I always switch out the hooks. The hooks that the whopper ploppers come with are they're a real beefy hook, and they just tend to not hook up as well as like if you switch them out with a Gamakatsu or Mustad. More of a wire hook seems to hold on to your fish a lot better. A hook with a little tighter bend will tend to hold your fish a lot better than an open round bend hook seems to. They throw it a lot better. At least it's been my experience. Like these Mustads, they have a little tight bend at the end of it, and it seems to just keep your fish hooked up better. Their tendency to throw a whopper plopper a lot, can be heartbreaking a lot of times. Good fish on, and they'll throw them whopper ploppers. If you get them hooked on the last hook, they tend to throw it a lot more. If they're really crushing it and you get them hooked on that front hook, it'll keep it. That bait doesn't, fly around their mouth so much, and they'll, stay hooked up. If your fish are aggressive and you're getting a lot of aggressive strikes and they're really chasing, can't beat the buzz bait. This here, I've been throwing this one a lot. This is the Crackgator Head Knocker or X-Bite. The new one we brought out. You see I got it rigged with a frog. This is a Zoom Horny Toad. I think this is a gray ghost color, black and gold. And obviously it's got the keepers on it that hold that plastic on there, so you can skip it. You can skip it under these cables, under the catwalks, skip it underneath docks, anywhere you want to get it back in there. These tricky little spots got shade back in there where these bigger fish are hanging out, and work your buzz bait kind of the same area, big rocks with moss, presence around docks, main lake stuff. The buzz bait is a better bait for keeping fish hooked up. You got one big hook. I always throw a trailer hook on it. I don't have it on it right now. I always want to throw a trailer hook on your buzz bait. And that one big hook, you hook the fish with this bait, he's more likely to come in the boat than maybe a spook or that whopper plopper. They kind of have a tendency of throwing them a lot. But, same deal. You want to vary your retrieve with the buzz bait, throw it up the bank and reel it as slow as you can and keep that bait on the surface. You want to throw it like that for a while, see if you're getting bites. If not, then start speeding it up to where until you're almost burning the buzzbait across the top of that water. Sometimes they just want it fast. They want the bait really moving fast. If the shad are active, you see the shad are really active, speed your baits up. Because a lot of times if a fish comes up behind it and it gets too good of a look at it, they'll turn and go away. But if it's burning across the surface, they have to attack the bait, and then then they're going to figure out if they want to eat it. But then it's too late. You got them hooked. So really vary your retrieve with the buzz bait a lot. A lot of times be working a buzz bait, get about halfway into the boat and think, okay, I'm out of strike zone. You speed it up and start burning in, and that's when one comes and attacks it. So that happens a lot. So if that happens, that just tells you right there, speed it up right off the bat. When it hits the water after your cast, burn it a few times. Really burn that bait. Another thing I'll point out real quick, like on the head knocker buzz bait, the Crappie with the twisted eye, it does several things. But one thing guys ask a lot about is the direction. And especially if you're burning buzzbait or reeling it really fast, it'll tend to sway to one side, to right or left. It may track one way or the other. And with the Crackgator, all you gotta do is take your pair of pliers, just like you do your crankbait. That's supposed to come straight out. You just take right at that eye with your pliers and just bend it. Whatever way you want it to go or track, you can bend it. You can slightly bend it, or you can really tweak on it and put that thing, at a 60-degree coming off of your the nose of this, and that thing will really track, and it'll compensate for, say, a right turn blade or left turn blade, and they'll want to track. You can compensate for that and straighten it out, or maybe if you're running shade lines on docks, you want to throw it up there and make it track to the right, so it tracks over against your the foam, or laydowns, or if you're on bluffs and you're parallel on bluffs, you want that thing to track over against it. So just keep that in mind. If your bait's not running straight or true, or it's tracking one way or the other, just take your pair of pliers and tweak just at the nose where you got it tied to, tweak it whichever way you want it to track to, and that'll compensate for that. And you can really adjust it and get the run the way you want it to. On the buzz baits and the whopper plopper, I'm throwing 50-pound braid. There's no reason to throw anything else. The rods aren't critical on that. As far as, you just want a heavy rod and reel, at least a 7'2" rod. The reel, I like just like a 7.5, 7.5, just a kind of an all-round retrieve on that. You're not burning it all the time. You're not worried about going slow. You just a steady retrieve on it is mostly how you want to throw it. So I've just found just a 7-to-1 reel works best on that. Same thing with the whopper plopper. you've heard me talk about it before, these orange crust Luz makes. I just call it a workhorse. The things are just indestructible. Spooled up with 50-pound braid and just run this thing all day, and you won't have any trouble with it, with that reel either. This is a rod. This is a 7-foot rod. It's an old Falcon I had. I've had this rod. I bet you I've had it 20 years at least, and it's just an old rod. It's a heavy rod, and it's missing a eye halfway down, but it's just one of my favorite rods, and I throw it. So my whole point is it's not real critical when you're throwing heavy braid and heavy baits. You just want a heavy rod to back it up. So, topwater baits, like I said, out on the points, just inside the points, or go all the way to the backs and try to topwater way in the backs. If you get back there and you're seeing shad busting, a lot of activity, don't be afraid to just fan cast a big flat with the topwater of any one of those three. And you're liable to catch some big fish back in there, back along some of the shallow docks. If the jig's not working, you can throw topwater on there and get some of them fish to come out. As far as flipping, flipping's been really good. Probably some of the better fish here in the last week or two has been either on topwater or flipping shallow docks. And those docks can be anywhere from Bagnell Dam, any of those creeks, basically anywhere on this entire lake. If you want to flip docks, just go back to the docks, start and say 6 foot of water and go shallower, and just flip every dock in that water depth until you start getting some bites, and put yourself together a pattern where they're at on that dock, whether it be in slips, on the outside corners, on the inside corners, on the foam, or in the catwalks. Just really pay attention until you catch 2 or 3 fish, and then you put your pattern together where they're positioning on them docks. And you'd be surprised how you catch 2 or 3 in that area. You can run that exact same spot on that dock everywhere, and all your fish are pretty much going to be in that same spot. They may change throughout the day. If you start out with cloudy, low light, and then that sun comes up, I would see a lot of times they're going to bury themselves up underneath the darkest part of that dock. So you really have to get in there. As far as jigs, same deal with my jigs. I like purple on it. This is a Crappie brown purple scale, 1/2 ounce zapper with just a straight green pumpkin muskrat. One of our muskrats on her. And like I said before, it skips real easy. It's real flat. It skips across there. It glides down easy. Just looks like a big shad. So that's probably my main jig. I'll flip all the time. Other deals flipping is like your shaky head. Still works real well. The only thing different with shaky head now is I'm going with the bigger one. So the mag. This is the June bug color. Well, actually, this is called African Special, and it's the Magnum Trickworm. And you see, it's just the longer one. This time of year seems to do better than maybe the smaller one. The Mag Finesse. So, and I didn't rig it on a 1/4 ounce Shaky Pro or the 5/16. It just is your preference. Obviously, the 5/16 will fall a lot faster if they're more of a reaction bite and they're wanting something falling faster. Throw that 5/16. If they seem to be a little sluggish, you can switch up to a 1/4, a little slower fall. And then also, as far as your flipping technique and your ability, if you want a 5/16 or a 1/4, one may flip better for you. On that, 7-foot rod, medium heavy, either 15 or 17 pound fluorocarbon on that. I like this Hypermag Luz reel. It's 8-to-1, want a fast retrieve. When you get them hooked, you got to get them out of all them, underneath them docks, cables, braces, lifts, whatever it is. You got to get them coming your way. So always a fast retrieve reel whenever you're flipping anything, So, and that's extremely light, the whole setup. So if you're going to flip all day, no fatigue with that setup there. Another bait, probably it's been working, kind of hit and miss. I don't know. is a little square bill back on the flats. Either main lake flats, um, like main lake docks that are sitting in 4 foot of water, or all the way in the backs of the same creeks, big coves, and just run that square bill. Burn that thing along the sides first. Throw it up there and just burn it just below the foam alongside them shallow docks. And when they're on it, the fish will freight train out to hit them square bills. And then you can kind of fan cast it out in them flats around laydowns. Just another one to be able to just experience with that square bill. If they're on the square bill, you can cover a lot of water with it and catch a lot of fish. So, obviously you can see we went through a lot of baits here, but that's September fishing. You can catch them on any one of these baits. For numbers, just the old Fluke, the Zoom Super Fluke, and Pearl Color, probably my favorite. Show you how I rig that. I like to throw that like on a fluorocarbon line. I like to throw a 10-pound test. It just lets it work easier. I rig it on a 5/0 EWG hook with the number 4 Stinger hook. Just freely hanging on that 5/0 hook, and it rattles on there, and it catches a lot of them swipers that come out. Not a lot of big fish caught on this. You will now and then catch one, but you'll catch plenty of keepers on it, and you catch a lot of small fish too. But it's just a good bait to go out and catch a lot of fish. Just like I said, kind of a medium action rod, 10-pound fluorocarbon, and just work that thing. Same thing, experiment. Work it slow, then work it real fast, and see what they want. It don't take long to get a bite on a bait like that. So, man, that's about it. This week there's several tournaments going on this weekend. A lot of charity tournaments. There's if you're looking for one to fish, open tournament. Well, I say open, one person first responders tournament out of Alhana. They do a real good job with that. Be a lot of attendance prizes. And one person in the boat has to be fire, EMS, police, military, dispatch, anything to do with EMS or first responders. One person in the boat has to be, one of those occupations. So that's out of Alhana on Sunday. There's a couple charity tournaments out of Red Oak. They're open tournaments. I think there's a tournament out of Robbins this weekend. There's several smaller tournaments around. One thing I will point out this weekend, I believe there's a regatta permit for a Trump parade from the 31-mile marker to the 35-mile marker on Saturday, and the regatta permit says 500 boats. Maybe an area you want to avoid. I don't know. Just for the waves, not the parade. But there's what else is going on this weekend? Bike Fest down here. There'll be a lot of motorcycles running around. Pay attention to them. Usually you can hear them, but just have your eyes open for a lot of motorcycles pulling in and out. Look twice when you're pulling out with your boat. You got that behind you. It might take you a little longer than you think. Give them bikers some respect. We don't need no accidents with them down here. Man, I don't know what else. There's a lot of stuff going on down here this weekend. And then the next weekend, there's a 2-day BFL. There's Bass Club Championship up the lake. And I'm sure there's several others. Just look up on Bass and Bob. Look up tournaments. Look up the regattas. You can always go to Missouri State Water Patrol. Look up our regattas and find out exactly everything that's going on. The amount of boats that's going to be in it. What the event is, who the contact number is, stuff like that. So, I guess that's about all I got this week. The fishing's really good. A lot of keepers being caught, and a lot of fish in general. Another thing I'll tell you, the white bass are starting to run pretty good, and you'll see them busting shad. Denise and Marty were out last weekend. And they quit bass fishing and caught a bunch of white bass just because they were busting so much. They sat in one spot for about a half hour and just caught fish after fish. So catching a lot of them today on a trip. Caught a real nice one. Actually running a whopper plopper. So, you know, they'll hit anything. They're aggressive fish. They're starting to, if you like white bass fishing, they're starting to run quite a bit. The crappies, I would say, you know, fairly slow, but you can catch them either trolling crankbaits or shooting docks. You know, shooting way up underneath the docks. You know, the live scope, you know, when I'm bass fishing, I'm always panning around looking for schools or whatever. And I'm seeing a lot of big schools, kind of main lake oriented, crappie wise, or just inside main lake, a lot of big schools. So, you know, they're there. If you want to take the time to shoot in there, you can catch them. So, you know, other than that, man, just be safe down here. There's be a lot of boats, still a lot of boats running around. I don't really see it slowing up too much this year. So just be safe, wear your life jackets, and we'll see you out there. We'll see you next time. Thanks.